So we look around and we see a community. This community has the Jewish faith as its bedrock. And we go out then to civil society and are members of so many other things that help bring us together. It could be our children's schools' PTAs, rec softball leagues, Pacers season ticket holders, cooking clubs, book clubs, open mic nights, museum cultural institutions, yoga studios, trivia nights, and even just being a resident here of Central Indiana. We have a vested interest in making sure that our society functions and works together. And it's rooted in our responsibility to be civically engaged. In a world of challenges and opportunities, the importance of our role as active participants in our community cannot be overstated. Whether we're aware of it or not, every action we take or fail to take can have a ripple effect, shaping our future for ourselves, our neighbors, and generations to come. So as mentioned, Director of Civic Education at the Barr Foundation, and I deal mostly with helping teachers and students to build their civic education through programs like We the People, Mock Trial, and through professional development workshops. So when I think of civic education, most people might think of the content knowledge behind it. What's the role of the president? How many justices are on the Supreme Court? How does due process build equality? But I'll argue that civic education is a three-legged stool. Those legs to start with is civic knowledge, but they also include civic skills and civic dispositions. And it's that disposition leg, our civic attitude and our responsibilities, that I want to talk a little bit about tonight. Civic engagement can be defined as individual and collective actions designed to identify and address issues of public concern in both political and non-political ways. It's a core function of a healthy society and community. Civic engagement is about embracing the responsibility we hold to working toward the common good. It's recognizing that our individual well-being is as deeply intertwined with our collective well-being. And when we look out for one another, when we care about the schools our kids attend, the safety of our neighborhoods, and the integrity of our institutions, we're not just helping others, we're strengthening the fabric of our society. The question I get to ask students often is to define that difference between a right and responsibility. We know we have individual rights, but it's our responsibility to do good with them. And one of the most powerful ways that we can be civically engaged is through voting. The act of voting is essential. It's an essential part of our healthy democracy. It's our way of telling our elected officials the values and the principles that we, the people, want. It means voting is more than just ticking a box on a ballot. It's an act of trust, it's a declaration of faith in the democratic process, and it's a commitment to the ideals that bring us together in our American society. It's a chance for each of us to have a say in the direction that our community and our state and our nation will take. And this message can be hopeful and encouraging, but we also face the reality that our democracy can be fragile. Democracy just doesn't sustain itself. It requires care, it requires vigilance, it requires participation. Democracy is a verb, and democracy is an action. We've seen in history how easily the foundations of our democracy can be shaken, whether it's through apathy, misinformation, or outright attempts to undermine the process. The threats to our democratic system is real, but they can be overcome, and the antidote to this is active civic participation. When we engage in this process, whether by voting, attending town halls, participating in public debates, or just staying informed, we fortify our democracy. We make it clear that we are invested in the future of our community. So when it comes to elections, in order for this to be done smoothly, effectively, and fairly, we need to have the election poll workers. And I've worked the election booth a few times. One of those times was during a presidential election, like we have coming up. At my precinct, we had about 1,200 people come through and cast a ballot while we were open. And that averaged to someone casting a ballot at that site every 40 seconds. I was filled with a sense of purpose in doing this task. It let me see that democracy was working. It built a trust in the system, and it showed me that the people were talking. The need for poll workers is great, and I've learned that it's the mission of this congregation to help our democracy by trying to help facilitate election work through poll working. If your schedule allows, I strongly encourage you to do it. Election workers are in demand. The election boards can never find enough people to fill those roles, and you play a vital role in making sure we do have fair and free elections. Actually, it's personal. 2 weeks ago, my dad told me he's ready to go and be a poll worker. So back in his hometown of Akron, Ohio, he signed up and ready to go. The act of voting is nonpartisan. It's just the people's way of participating in a healthy democracy. So if you can help foster a healthy democracy in this manner, please do so. But civic engagement also extends beyond a once-a-year election day. It's reflected in our daily interactions, through our willingness to volunteer, to support local businesses, to mentor the youth, and to stand up for justice. Each of these actions contribute to the common good, creating a community that's resilient, inclusive, and capable of facing whatever challenges come our way. And it's easy to be cynical, to feel that such a small individual effort might be insignificant in the whole grand scheme of things. But history has shown us that when people come together, they can achieve extraordinary things. Think of the civil rights movement, the fight for women's suffrage, the labor movements. These weren't driven by just few powerful individuals. It's the collective of ordinary citizens believing in that collective action. So today we face our own challenges, social, economic, environmental, and it's up to us to rise to the occasion. We can't afford to just sit on the sidelines hoping that somebody else is going to take care of it. So big or small, each of us has a role to play. Each of us has a voice to use, and a voice deserves to be heard in your own way. And I do stress your own way, because I'm not going to be that person that you will find holding a protest sign on the street, or in the words of civil rights leader and Congressman John Lewis, I'm not going out and causing the good trouble. But we can find our own way to engage with people and with our community, to have these discussions, to vote, to donate our time and money, and be engaged. So let's not forget that the common good is not just some distant ideal, but it's an American value. It's something that we create together, and when we vote, we're not just making the choice for ourselves, we're shaping a future for our community. And we engage with that community. We not just fulfill a civic duty, but we're building the better world for everyone. So in closing, I urge you to take a moment, reflect on what civic engagement means to you. I've learned that this idea of civic engagement is a tenet within the Jewish faith. So please consider how you can contribute to this, contribute to the common good. How do you make your voice heard? How do you help strengthen our democracy? It's a responsibility we all share, and it's a legacy we pass on to future generations.